The ASUS ROG Ally is here and it packs some impressive specs, but does it live up to the hype? The ROG Ally includes a brand new chipset from AMD called the Ryzen Z1 Extreme that's built off of Zen 4 architecture and can produce up to 8.6 teraflops. The screen itself is a 7-inch touch panel that goes up to 1080p, has a refresh rate of up to 120Hz, and supports AMD FreeSync. The hardware itself is comfortable to use. It has 2 analog sticks, a D-pad, 4-button array, and on the back there are 2 macro buttons that can be programmed for extra shortcuts. Because the ROG Ally is Windows 11 based, there is quite a bit of setup involved, including a Windows Hello introduction for fingerprint sensor up at the top, and ASUS includes Armoury Crate, which is a all-in-one hub for you to access games from different platforms, including PC Game Pass and Steam, and you can set your different settings here and check on updates for the hardware, including BIOS updates and driver updates. Overall, it is a minimal effort to provide a console-like experience, but hopefully it gets expanded as the time goes on. A shortcut button to the left of the screen opens up the command center, and here you can choose from the different power settings that the ROG Ally has, including the 10-watt silent mode, a 15-watt performance mode, and the 25-watt turbo mode. In addition to that, you can customize all these icons to the left to adjust things like airplane mode, turning the resolution up to 1080p or to 720p, or turning an FPS counter on and off. The biggest problem with the ROG Ally is its out-of-box experience. When we opened up the Xbox app and tried to boot up Forza Horizon 5 for the first time, the play button just didn't work. And so we updated the Xbox app, which caused an endless loop of loading, which eventually resolved itself. And you'll just experience a lot of these different things where the software may open and then all of a sudden it closes and you're not sure why. So there's all these hiccups in the process of setting this up, and it could be because you haven't downloaded the latest BIOS or the latest drivers, the latest updates. This is a screen that you get if you try to open Death Stranding sometimes. It's a Windows error prompt. And so eventually these other alerts will come up where it says update to the latest BIOS, and so you go into Armoury Crate or somewhere else and it updates the BIOS, and then it will fix certain problems that you may have had. So be sure to go into Armoury Crate and select all the updates and choose to update them, and maybe you will have the latest drivers and best software. Also, you may have to do some Windows updates. But once all that boring setup stuff is out of the way, this machine just flies. Once you start getting that software up and you're actually experiencing the fidelity that this machine can provide, it really sort of blows you away, considering that the Steam Deck only came out a year and a half ago, and you're seeing things like Forza Horizon 5 run at 60 FPS or higher, at 720p or even 1080p, and it's something that it's jarring because these are games that you've been playing on console or on your desktop PC for a while, and now you're getting to see this full fidelity on a handheld. Now, this is a shot of Resident Evil 2, which also looks really good on the ROG Ally. It was hitting well over 60 FPS in 720p and in the 15-watt performance mode. Another example is Death Stranding, which looks great on the ROG Ally. It's part of the PC Game Pass library, so if you get a chance, check that out. And this was hitting about 45 to 60 FPS on 720p, and the difference is that the texture quality is just so much better on the Ally compared to the Steam Deck, and you can see this as well on titles like Resident Evil 3, where the Steam Deck can match in frame rate as the ROG Ally could hit 60, but the clarity and the texture quality is well beyond what the Steam Deck is providing at this point. Another good demonstration here is Aliens Fireteam Elite. Running this on the Steam Deck, I was getting about 30 FPS on this first mission, and on the ROG Ally, it's hitting 60 or above. So you can tell that this looks pretty comparable to something that you would be running on console, say the Series S, in terms of frame rate and texture quality. So that's the kind of experience that you can get out of this system. It doesn't happen to all titles, but if you're not into just playing all AAA games all the time, then go ahead and download some other more or less taxing 2D games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which also runs great on the ROG Ally. Now here's an example of what a BIOS update could do to the fidelity of the hardware. So this was before I updated to the latest BIOS. Resident Evil Village was getting about 35 to 40 FPS, and it seemed like it was being held back somehow. But after a BIOS update, it started hitting 50 to 60 FPS and beyond. So a lot of these initial setbacks is due to software and how it's optimized in the future. So with a handheld PC like this, it's good to have a bit of patience and wait until the drivers and software updated so that it is achieving the maximum potential of the included hardware. Battery life on the ROG Ally was about an hour and 40 minutes in the 15-watt performance mode, running games on 720p. And if you go into the turbo mode, it's about an hour. So it's not the best and it's not the absolute worst that we were hoping. About 2 hours of play is decent for me. On the Steam Deck, you can get about 2.5 on AAA game titles, depending on the settings that you have. But overall, they have a really compelling piece of hardware here that combines a great screen, really powerful graphics, and great sound. And the ROG Ally has some of the best sound I've heard in a handheld. It is really quite an experience when all these things sort of harmonize together, the hardware, the screen, and the sound. It's been a blast so far after a whole week of owning it, and I highly recommend the ROG Ally. For more videos, click subscribe, and for more news and reviews, head to news.punchjump.com.